All right, so let's talk quick about, and this is now we can start getting a little more interactive here. So this isn't like the sciencey, you know, aspects of what sleep does, but let's talk a little bit about some of the detriments of poor sleep or lack of sleep, you know, what that does to us. I've got a list of, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 things here, but do you guys want to take a guess at a few of them? We'll hit them one at a time.
Well, personally, like, I cannot recover physically with poor sleep. I need to do rest days or like super easy, you know, low impact type stuff the next day if my sleep is all messed up. I know that my appetite changes dramatically the next day. I crave sugar. I crave sweets. I'm way off on my nutrition.
Yep.
Digestion changes a lot.
Yeah, so let's hit, I'll just say on the weight gain point, that's one of the first ones I had. Yeah, lack of sleep causes you, for one, to eat more. People who are sleep deprived tend to eat 400 to 500 calories more the next day. That's because lack of sleep lowers the concentration of leptin. That's a hormone that makes you feel full. And it increases the hormone ghrelin, the hunger hormone. So that leads to overeating the next day. But on top of that, like you said, Josh, it causes you to eat worse as well. And when we're sleep deprived, we go for the worst food, the sugary food, the processed junk food. So yeah, lack of sleep leads to weight gain pretty quickly just by making us overconsume and overconsume the bad things. Yep.
Yeah.
The thing you said too about physical repair, that's a huge one.
Yeah, and I would say overall, like emotionally, like I'm irritable and like my empathy goes down and I'm just sort of like an ass, you know, if I'm behind on sleep.
Me all the time. Sorry, everybody.
I just start giving zero fucks when I'm under recovered. And I don't know, maybe that's a safety mechanism. Like, you know, I'm just sort of crawling into a cave and not willing to give a lot of energy out because I'm, you know, not well recovered. But yeah, those are the big things, you know, for me.
Yeah. Do you want to take any stabs, Ricky, or should I start listing a couple?
I think you can list a couple.
Okay, all right. So impaired learning, we already talked about how well it reinforces the things you've learned. And with this, I'm thinking mostly of like children or, you know, especially maybe even high schoolers and like college age kids who barely get any sleep because out partying and whatnot, you know, their sleep quality might be so good, not be so good. And that has severe, you know, impact on how well they learn and retain the information that they learned the day before. Here's one for guys: lower testosterone and sperm count for that matter. But the next day, after one night where you get less than 6 hours of sleep, you have the testosterone levels of someone who's roughly 10 ages your senior, or 10 years your senior. I don't know what that amounts to in terms of milligrams per deciliter or anything, but that's just a little fact that I got from the book. And guys are typically, they want to optimize their testosterone levels. So that's a good reason right there to sleep.
Yeah, that should be a pretty good motivator for the guys listening out there. Go to bed.
A couple of kind of disease states or whatever that we could talk about. Increased risk of heart attack. This one was interesting to me. After just one night of poor sleep, your risk of heart attack goes way up the next day. And here's a really cool fact. So this upcoming weekend, we have spring ahead, right? And I think we set our clocks back, so we lose an hour of sleep. During that time of year, that weekend where we do spring ahead, the day after doing that, when we get one less hour of sleep because of changing the clocks, there's 25% more heart attacks in the United States the day after. This is consistent year after year in the medical literature, just incidents of heart attack. And then the opposite happens during daylight savings. When we get the extra hour of sleep, there's 25% fewer heart attacks the next day nationwide. So that's kind of, I didn't realize it had that big of an impact, but for people who are worried about that sort of thing, you know, it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the exact facts, but I know it also affects driving, you know, whenever you have that whole setback. So I think there's more accidents that are recorded.
That's right. Yeah. I think I don't remember. I think this actually, I got this from a podcast I listened to, but along with the heart attack thing, you're right. Other things like driving related crashes, and boy, I can't remember what else, but they had a whole list of facts that that go up on, after spring ahead, and then that fall off during daylight savings. And it's all just due to that one extra or one less hour of sleep.
Yeah.
Lack of sleep, absolutely. And I didn't realize to how large an extent, but it decimates the immune system. Getting less than 6 hours of sleep causes a significant, I don't know what the percentage is, so I'm not going to try to quote it, but a significant reduction in immune activity. You're much more likely to get sick the day after you've had poor sleep versus the day after you've had good sleep. And I just know that like these days, we've had the coronavirus and all this kind of stuff. A lot of people are worried about their immune health. So that's just another thing to keep in mind for people who are, especially if you think the next day you might go to an event where you're going to be around a lot of people or something. And if you are worried, if it's cold and flu season, you don't want to catch something, a good night of sleep the night before is going to buffer you against the likelihood of getting sick the next day.
Yeah, when I'm feeling like I'm maybe catching something, I'll go to bed at like 8 at night, and I'll sleep till whenever my body tells me to get up, and that could be 8. And I can't tell you how many times I have, the majority of the time, wake up feeling as though everything just passed me by. Instead of just trying to fight that or ignore it and then wake up and be full blown sick or, pretty beat up, that extra 2 to 4 hours, I think, is a lifesaver. If you're feeling like, you've got a runny nose, your throat is starting to hurt or something's off.
It's probably the best medication we can take. Think of people who feel that something is coming on and they immediately call their doctor looking for like a Z-Pack or, an antibiotic or whatever, or run straight to the drugstore. Sleep is probably one of the most potent medications you can take if you feel that sort of thing happening.
Sleep and food.
Yep. I'll hit the next one, increased cancer risk. So this goes right along with the immune system thing. Your natural killer cells, which are like just immune cells that target certain pathologies in your body. They're really important at fighting any sort of emerging tumor. They're always active in our body, and everyone has cancer to some very small degree, a few cancer cells. And your NK cells, your natural killer cells, are the things that are always attacking and keeping that under control so that it doesn't actually develop into a true cancer diagnosis. Getting 4 hours of sleep or less, which a lot of people do often, depletes your natural killer cells by 70%. So that's huge. That significantly increases your risk of cancer. And actually, I just learned this the other day. The WHO, the World Health Organization, recently added shift work, like graveyard shift workers, to their list of known carcinogens. So alongside like all the like chemicals and things that they've already identified that cause cancer, they've also added graveyard shifts to that list, and that's the WHO.
Yeah, I want to chime in on that because that is so crazy that you just said that, because years ago, my former coach, James Fitzgerald from OPEX Fitness, told me that when he's doing lifestyle consulting with clients and they smoke and work the night shift, he tells them to quit the night shift first and then work on quitting smoking. And that is insane that you said it, because I haven't heard that. What you just said with the list of carcinogens, I haven't heard that. But
yeah, me neither.
He said that to me, it had to be 2006, 2007, that it was that damaging to your system at multiple levels to be working night shift. And ever since that, I've never forgot that. So
yeah, and I mean, I think Josh, you and I had discussed my history of that, because I worked the graveyard shift at a company called Bristol Myers Squibb, and while I was there, first I was on days, but then I was working 12-hour nights, so 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I noticed a significant change in my physique, but my overall health and my overall mood. Like everything was being affected. And I can't tell you, almost like 2 weeks after I started the graveyard shift, I started looking for other jobs. It was that bad, and it was that significant that I was like, I can't do this. I can't care about myself and still work on that shift. And it's a shame that our society is so busy and so it just seems like people are rushing and rushing and rushing, and the first thing they decide to ignore is sleep.
Yeah.
And
I almost wish that like graveyard shift work was, I don't want to say illegal. I don't like the idea of the government like enforcing something like that, but I really wish it was much more strongly discouraged. You know, I think it's obviously important to have some nurses and doctors who work overnight because an accident can happen anytime. But man, like some of these just like stores that are open with, you know, I worked at Walmart a long, long time ago, and I worked the overnight shift there too. I'd go in at, I think my shift started at, might have been like 10 p.m. and I got out at 6 a.m. or something like that. And I've never had worse health than I only stayed with it for about a month and I just couldn't take it anymore. You know, you're walking out in the morning and you're blinking in the sunlight and your body has no idea what time it is. But I felt that same physical decline that you did, Ricky. Like it's horrible for your health.
Yeah, and mentioning that physical piece there for both Ricky and Andy, what you just said, for clients coming in to see us that have trouble losing weight or gain significant weight quickly over a 1 to 3 year period, without a doubt, a large percentage of them were night shift workers.
Yeah.
And they, you know, we're getting a nurse in fresh out of college, and, you know, she comes in and gained 30 pounds in a year. And she's like, well, I just don't know why, nothing's changed. And I say, well, you tell me about your job. And who works nights? And boom. And then I give them the advice that we know and give everyone else, like, you need to change that. Like, you need to put in for a different shift, change hospitals, something, because it's that important. And then they do, a lot of them. And it is amazing how much the body swings back into equilibrium. And nothing else changed. They didn't diet, they didn't work out more. They just got back into homeostasis with circadian rhythm and everything that's natural.
Yeah. I honestly think, you know, as much as we talk about like eating processed and bad foods, fried food, fast food, junk foods, having sedentary lifestyle, Josh, you brought up smoking, like there's some obvious, really poor things you can do for your health. But I think working those overnight shifts, it like almost trumps them all, quite possibly. I would get that in mind first.
Well, and, you know, I'll add on to that just quick. When we were looking at, like, if you have a pool of choices with like fitness, nutrition, sleep, you know, positive social connections, I think sleep is something that you can't hack. Like,
Right.
it's number one. If you told me today I could only choose one thing out of that pool that I just described forever, it would just be a great life of good sleep. And because, you know, you can eat a lot of vegetables and work out really hard, but if your sleep is jacked, it's just running on a treadmill like a hamster. You know, it's not going to work.
You know, you just reminded me of something I want to throw in really quick because it's really interesting. We already talked about like one of the other problems with sleep is the increased risk of Alzheimer's disease due to amyloid plaque buildups, not getting that power washing effect that sleep gives you. But I recently heard about this is actually Matt Walker also, now that I think about it, the guy who wrote that book, but he's working in his lab on developing a new technology, kind of similar to Elon Musk's Neuralink thing, except it's not an implant that goes in your brain. This is like, I think he's using like electrodes on the side of the head.
That's probably better.
Yeah, I'm more comfortable with that. But all this does is it uses some sort of electromagnetic EM frequency or whatever that it stimulates areas of your brain, and it causes increased amplitude, if I remember correctly, of sleep waves during deep sleep. And they're looking at this as a possible way to maybe prevent or slow the progression of, or, you know, he's hoping obviously that it could maybe even cure or reverse developing Alzheimer's disease. I don't think they're into testing on humans yet. They're still like designing it, but that might be something that comes out in the next 5 years or whatever.
Yeah. And that would be amazing because people have been trying for many, many years to solve that issue. And it's just, there's no solution because crossing the blood-brain barrier is so difficult. So getting anything to pass through there to actually target those is very challenging.
You don't want to just inject a needle straight through the skull into the brain?
I mean, personally, no. Maybe some people, but yeah, there's no way to really get in there. I mean, there's some vitamins that can cross it, and you can link things to those. But I mean, so that's very interesting. If they can figure out a therapy like that to really help reduce those, that's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. It just puts them in deeper sleep so that they get more of that cerebral spinal fluid wash. Yeah, it'd be really cool if they could figure that out, because I mean, someone in my family passed away with Alzheimer's, and it's a rough condition, obviously. Yeah. I'll say I got a couple more for you here. One is inflammation. I didn't actually realize, so I'm going to do one of our future podcasts. The topic is going to be inflammation, because that's a really important one that I really like talking about. That's one that I've researched a lot. I'm not going to go deep on it right here, but I never knew that lack of sleep was so inflammatory on the body. And I guess it does it by lack of sleep stimulates the sympathetic nervous system. And you know that the sympathetic is like your fight or flight. That's the high alert nervous system. And that excess sympathetic activity carries through the whole next day, and it results in an inflammatory response in the body. And, you know, as we know, that's the last thing I'll say about this is just that chronic inflammation is linked to a million health conditions that we'll talk about on a future episode. But lack of sleep is actually inflammatory. And then the last one I just have here is that it damages DNA as well. Specifically, it damages and dismantles the telomeres on the end of your chromosomes. And telomeres are kind of protective caps on the end of your chromosomes that prevent, you know, you don't want chromosomal damage, obviously, because then whenever the cell multiplies it, there's errors and future cells aren't as healthy as they should be. I usually
could also cause cancer.
What's that?
Which can also cause cancer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's probably one of the main mechanisms, actually. Yeah. One of that's hypothesized. But yeah, I think of telomeres as like the little plastic caps on the end of a shoelace that kind of keep your shoelace from threading and unwinding on you. We have those little caps on the end of our chromosomes as well. And you want to keep those healthy so that the chromosomes don't start to unwind and become damaged, we'll say. So lack of sleep damages those protective caps on your chromosomes. So that's a lot. That's a lot of really powerful, actually, ways in which lack of sleep can destroy your health. So I think we touched on that pretty well. Now, I just wanted to wrap this episode up with talking about some of the common ways that we screw up our sleep. And then to that, I want to attach like actionable steps, like just our recommendation for what people should do, you know, if these are your problems. So if you guys want, I think I have, let's see, I think I have 6 of them. 6 ways that we mess up our sleep, or things that we can do that screw up your sleep. Anyone want to take a guess at one of them?
Electronics.
I would say,
so
yeah, screen time.
Josh clicked the buzzer first on that one. So yeah, so and I'm actually going to say light at night, like screens. You know, what that does is especially blue light, like you get from television screens and computer screens and stuff, it causes a delayed melatonin release. So you want that melatonin to start rising at 8 p.m. But whenever you're in front of blue light, and a lot of people are on their computers until 10, 11, midnight, your melatonin release is delayed by 3 hours. So if it would normally naturally rise around like 8, 9 p.m., but you're on a screen at 9 p.m., then it's not going to start rising until, what would that be, 1 p.m. or so. Wow. And not only does it delay the release of melatonin, but it also reduces how much you release. I think by the number here, by 40%. So that's,
wow.
You get a melatonin later in the night, so you don't fall asleep as well, or get as good a quality of sleep, and you get far less of it.
Wow.
So any solutions that we have, the obvious one is not to be on your computer at night. But I don't know if you guys try to mitigate this at all, or if it's a challenge that you deal with or struggle with.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead, Rick.
I can admit that, yeah, okay, I can admit that it is a challenge for me.
Me too.
You know, I sometimes get texts really late at night. I sometimes get all these, you know, and it was actually in my older position versus my position now, where I was talking to people in Asia and they would be messaging me at like 8 p.m. and I like to try to go to bed at like 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's like now in the position I have, I kind of have my phone set to sleep mode so that at 8 o'clock, it doesn't push any, notifications towards me.
Nice.
My iPhone also has a really good thing where it's called Nightshade, where you can add it's like a night filter to it.
Yeah, I did that.
So
I have one of those on my computer. I'm just
and I think a lot of things do. And one of the other tips before I had all these things was I actually would switch my TV to black and white when it was getting later, because I didn't really want the brightness, and I would dim the brightness down way low so I could barely be able to see it, black and white. And I was one of those people that would fall asleep with the TV, which I know is not good, and I've been working on that. But that is those are kind of my tips, is trying to just like wean yourself off of them, set strict limits where you're not getting notifications pushed to your phone, because I mean this thing is probably the biggest culprit for most people. You can turn off a TV, you can go into another room, but as soon as someone shoots you a text, you know how hard it is, that willpower to not check it.
Well,
I mean,
of the three of us, Ricky, Josh is the all-star in this category. You and I struggle just as hard. Josh is going to put us to shame with his night routine. But I wanted to chime in really quick that you were talking about the dimmer on your iPhone. I'm using one on my computer. I have it installed on all my computers, and it's free. So if any of the listeners want to go download this, it's called Iris Mini. So IRIS and space Mini. And it's free to install on your computer, and I just have it set to automatic, so it knows like what time zone you're in and what time of day it should start dimming. So during the day, like right now, it's still, I think my computer screen is still at 100%, but I think it's after 5 o'clock it dims to like whatever 70%, and then at 8 p.m. it dims to like 40%, and it's really nice. Like sometimes I forget that it's on, and I've gone and like toggled the settings and turned it back to bright at nighttime, and I'm just blown away by how much brighter my screen is. So this thing has been a lifesaver for me. It doesn't, I'm still getting the blue light in my eyes, but it's at least filtering out some of that for me.
Yeah, the iPhone has a black and white feature too. And there's a buddy of mine told me a while back that you actually decrease your usage of your phone if it's in black and white, because it's not as visually appealing.
Yeah, true.
And honestly, I did that for probably 6 months. Now my brightness is like turned all the way down, and I have that nighttime thing on there. But it's seriously, when your phone's in black and white, it's pretty dull. So you're not scrolling through Facebook and Instagram nearly as much, because things are just pretty lame,
And I know, Josh, at your house, I know you've got you take it to a whole new level. Like you've got dimmer switches on all your lights. And I love that. Like whenever I've house sat for you, I like turn all the lights down to like, 20% around like 6, 7 p.m. I find myself wanting to go to bed at 8 or 9, whereas normally I would want to go to bed at like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And I know you keep your electronics out of the room, right?
Oh yeah. So when we built our house, the two houses that I built new, the whole house, and I told the electrician, I don't care the extra cost, I want every switch on a dimmer. And like it's exactly for that reason. So like at dinner time, you're like down by half, you're just starting to start to come down. And then by 9, you've got a few, little lamps on, and it's very like, I think of it as like the Amish lifestyle. Like you're just slowly going down to the candlelight, And yeah, I enjoy that. I think it's very relaxing. And then like when Asher or someone will pop a series of lights on, I'm like, you get somewhat sensitive to that if you're used to, the lights coming down. But yeah, I wouldn't say I don't struggle with it, but I've done it for so long now that like really 8:30 is where I'm done. I'm signing off my phone. I go put on a charger in the kitchen, and then I'm in the living room or upstairs playing with Asher. We don't even have a TV in the first or second floor. It's in the basement, and it's really inconvenient to watch because I don't have any furniture down there. so therefore you don't watch it. But like, yeah, it's something that I've definitely worked on trying to refine. And the only reason I think that I've really gravitated to it and enjoyed sticking with it is because I feel really good from it.
Yeah.
And that's addicting.
You've made that connection. You know that makes you feel a lot better. And once you've made that connection, you want to do that.
Yeah.
Just like eating healthy or exercising.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
I sympathize with Josh too, or I agree with Josh, I should say. I do the same thing. I don't have dimmer switches. I'm not lucky enough to have dimmer switches on all my lights, but I do shut off lights. So I only have minimal amounts of lights, and I try to, use darker lights. I don't use those LEDs that are bright and just blinding. And on top of that, what other ones? Oh, whenever I go to sleep, I use blackout curtains is one thing I do to try to block out all light from getting into my room. And again, like Josh, was doing, like, I try to keep all electronics out of my room as well while I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah, all good tips there. And yeah, I didn't even think about the what'd you call them? Blackout
Curtains.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people, yeah, I love that. I need it to be pitch black when I sleep. I think a lot of people underestimate how much light they're allowing into their room at night, and then what an effect that has on their sleep. I like it as dark as possible.
Yeah, and trying being on night shift and then trying to sleep during the day. You need blackout curtains at least.
For sure.
Yeah, I want to go back to the electronic thing in the bedroom, because I think that is like paramount.
I think so.
My buddy Jeff Hall has a side company where he goes into people's homes and he measures radiation, like EMF waves coming off of electronic devices, and he has like the really expensive meter that does that, and he can walk throughout the whole house up to modems, laptops, cell phones, TVs, like anything that you think could be producing that radiation. I think that's what that is, right? And so it is really mind-blowing. If you sleep by your phone, like within a foot, you're at like 1,000x radiation level than what you should be taking in. And he has all the metrics built out and all of that. But it's really, really interesting that you need to be spaced out from these, especially during sleep. And, if you've got a TV on in there and a modem, and you've got 2 cell phones and none of them are on airplane mode, I would bet your sleep is 1/10 of what it could be.
I think you definitely inspired me I need to get the phone away from me, because I've always had a really hard time sleeping growing up. And one of the tricks that I learned to help me sleep, although it's probably hurting me actually, is I listen to like meditations and stuff at night, and I use my phone to do that. And so the phone is like under the pillow next to me, and I'm listening to these meditations and I fall asleep. And I do like that at night. It is soothing, it is relaxing, it does seem to help me get to sleep. But I don't like that I have that phone next to me just blasting me with EMFs all night long. So I'm gonna have to find a way around that myself. That's a good tip. Ricky, you wanna ways we screw up sleep? Any guess? Something we consume or things we do?
Oh man, ways we screw up sleep. I would say alcohol.
Boom, that's a big one. Okay, so
100%.
Yep, that's on my list.
That's the second of my life was cutting that out. So
heck yeah, alcohol is. I remember Matt Walker talking to Joe Rogan about this when he was on, saying that alcohol is a sedative. Is how they might classify it in terms of the effect that it has on making you sleep. Because a lot of people think, they want their nightcap or whatever they call it. They think a glass of wine at night is going to help them sleep better. And it does help you fall asleep, but that's because it's a sedative. And sedation is not the same as sleep. You have very, very different brain waves when you're sedated. Much lower quality sleep. So yeah, alcohol sedates the prefrontal cortex, which is where a lot of our kind of analytical thinking and stuff takes place. And that's why it's so good as a in social situations, that we get less inhibited and we talk more freely and we can socialize and stuff. But that inhibition is really, really bad for sleep. It also fragments your sleep, which results in it being less restorative. it suppresses REM sleep, which we talked a lot about. That's where dreaming occurs and where all that learning and reintegration occurs. Yeah, and that's all an effect of these aldehyde byproducts that result from alcohol metabolism. So yeah, what I wanted to say here was just that, first of all, I think this is a big problem for a lot of people, because I think a lot of people drink for one thing, and often they use to help them get to sleep. You know, after a long, stressful day at work or whatever, they like to unwind with a beer or something like that. But what people need to know is it takes several hours for your body to get rid of alcohol and all of its metabolites. So even drinking in the afternoon, like an early afternoon drink, will significantly disrupt your REM sleep. I think the only way that you could drink alcohol and maybe not have it affect your sleep would be if you had it for breakfast, which I don't recommend. So you just got to kind of know, I mean, you know, it's important to have fun in life and to have those social situations and stuff, but you just need to, it's important to be aware of the effect that alcohol has on sleep, and the fact that you're not going to get all the benefits that we want, you know, and you're going to end up with all those detriments of poor quality sleep that we talked about before.
Yeah, and it goes much farther too than just sleep. You know, alcohol is a poison. You know, I'm not a party pooper by any means, but like, you know, you want to screw yourself up, you know, with hormone levels, and, you know, like we're talking about sleep, and, you know, there's a whole, we could go to a whole episode on that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just heard a quote, forget who said it the other day. It said, sobriety is bliss. And it is, like, when you feel really good and you're like dialed in, the last thing you want to do is give yourself a self-induced flu, like, you know, the next morning, right? You might have your fun for 2 to 4 hours, but I'm telling you, like, if your life is organized and you're where you want to be, it should be pretty awesome to be sober.
Yeah, absolutely. If you need to turn to alcohol, then that's just a sign that something else is wrong that you should probably address.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another obvious one was caffeine, but we already talked about that. So we just want to minimize that, especially after like 10 a.m. I would say, you know, if you like the morning coffee, that's fine, but certainly not in the afternoon, and try not to go overboard with it. How do you guys feel about temperature when you sleep? That's another big one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, you should keep your temperature as, I mean, right now I keep mine around 63 degrees.
Yeah.
Whenever I fall asleep.
Well,
Because
I'll chime in and just say that the research shows that 60 to 65 degrees is the perfect room temperature for most people to sleep. And you said you're 63?
Yeah.
So boom, you're right on the money.
Yeah.
In the summer, I don't follow it as much. I try to keep it around 70, but in the wintertime, yeah, it's easy to keep it around 63.
Yeah, that's me too. 63, 64, sweet spot.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, to get to sleep, your core body temperature needs to drop by about 2 degrees. So you definitely need that low 60s to allow that to happen. One of the hacks there is they say splashing cold water on your face to help you cool off. I don't know how effective that would be. I mean, for me, the air conditioner is the most important thing. But another one, and this is one that I like. Have you ever noticed that if you guys probably don't take baths that often, but every now and then I'll take an Epsom salt bath because I want to like use it for preventing muscle soreness if I had a hard workout or something. But people who take baths, you know, a hot bath, will notice that when they get out, they usually sleep a lot better that night, or they feel really drowsy afterwards. And that seems kind of counterintuitive, because we're saying that low temperatures help you sleep. So how does a hot bath help you sleep better? And that's just that a hot bath causes your blood vessels and capillaries to dilate, like out near your skin, and a lot of blood ends up going to your extremities. And then when you get out of the tub, your body just dumps heat because all that blood is out near the surface. So it actually lowers your core body temperature. You get out of a hot bath, and then like 15, 20 minutes later, you've dropped your core body temperature by a few degrees, and you're in a perfect situation to fall asleep. Yeah, I don't know if you guys do anything else to help with temperature. I mean, Josh, you have the fan and stuff, and you know, a cooler and air conditioner.
Yeah, I have the window open when I can, nothing super fancy. One thing I tried this winter, and it was surprisingly really effective. It's sort of the opposite of exactly what you just said. And I don't know if it was a weird like placebo thing. I'm not sure.
Outside or something?
Yeah, just be outside, like in like shorts and nothing else on my back deck for like 2 to 5 minutes, depending on the temperature and the wind blowing. But I would like get chilly and not like, you know, crazy by any means, but uncomfortable. And then I would just like run up to bed and jump in. And I don't know, something about crawling into like warm sheets after you just froze that is very like meditative almost and relaxing. And I seriously would like, I wouldn't even remember, like, I just crashed, just boom. And so I don't know if that makes any sense from a science perspective.
I mean, you just cooled your body down. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to have to try that one.
It works. And go, I just literally, like, I'll just like let the dog out, stay out there, just shorts, right in the wind, snow, whatever, and it under 30 degrees. And yeah, just go right up to bed, lights off, and boom.
So I got 2 more for you here to wrap it up.
Okay.
The last one is alarms. So we talked about how important that those last couple hours of sleep are. Almost everyone wakes up to an alarm clock in the morning, right? If you can somehow find a way to structure your life so that you don't need that alarm clock in the morning, you know, it's really unnatural and unhealthy to be jarred awake by an alarm clock. And really, I mean, I think the only solution there is just if you're needing an alarm clock to wake you up in the morning, then it's a sign that you're probably not going to bed early enough at night. And I use an alarm also because some days I do have to get up early and I don't want to accidentally sleep past that. But, you know, that's the fact that I need that alarm is probably an indicator that I'm not getting to bed soon enough at night. You know, if you're going to bed 9 hours before you have to get up or 8 hours before you have to get up, you're pretty likely to start waking up, you know, pretty naturally at the right time. So I don't know. I would estimate that 95% of people, if not more, use an alarm most days.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys use alarm clocks or how that works for you.
Well, I'll go first then.
You get up super early, don't you?
I do use an alarm clock, but my internal clock is kind of adjusted already.
Yep.
Because I do have that strict bedtime of around, I try to be in bed by 8 and asleep by 8:30. And then I wake up, I have my alarm set for, you know, 4:30. And that's just to make sure that I'm up and ready to go. But I would say probably 9 times out of 10, if not more, 99 times out of 100, I actually wake up before my alarm, and I'm normally up by like 4:10, 4:20, and I kind of just get up as when my alarm goes off. Yeah.
See, I think you're doing it right. I think the best use of an alarm clock is just kind of as an insurance policy to make sure that you don't accidentally oversleep, because, you know, every now and then that can happen. But ideally, like, you're going to bed at the right time where 9 times out of the 10, you're waking up before the alarm goes off. And then it doesn't bother you if it wakes up. You've woken up naturally. You've done the right thing there. I think that's really the only way around that is just going to bed earlier, I think.
Yeah, I can say that I definitely hate waking up to an alarm clock.
Can't stand it.
That is the most unnatural thing, like hitting like 2 frying pans by your face, you know? And I don't like to get startled in the morning. And so like I don't use an alarm. I get up. There is an alarm set for like 6:45 or 7 with Jenny, just to make sure she gets up and ready for work. But for me, I'm normally up at least a half hour before that, 15 minutes sometimes. But when I do sleep into that alarm, it's just not, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right, you know?
Yeah. All right, so the last one I have is just to remind people that sleeping pills like Ambien, for example, it definitely just goes right along with the alcohol thing. They do more harm than good to your health and your sleep quality. I mean, the only thing there is just saying, if you are on those things and you are relying on those, then there's, you know, a root issue that you need to fix somewhere, because we shouldn't need sleeping pills to sedate us into a good night's sleep. You know, there's some things you need to address there, and who knows, they're going to be different for every person. But I just want people to understand that if they take sleeping pills at night and they think that that's helping them and helping them get better sleep and whatnot, it's really like I said, it's causing more harm than good in the long run, and your sleep quality is nowhere near what it should be. It's you know, getting 8 hours of sleep after you've taken Ambien is pretty much just as bad as only getting 4 hours of natural sleep. You know, roughly, I'm just throwing numbers out there, but it's definitely not good for you. I don't think any of us take that, but I certainly know a lot of people who do. So
No, but one thing, Andy, I think we should maybe review just quickly is our supplement regimen pre-bed. Do you have that next?
I had that attached to this one as a little subtopic. So like, yeah, supplements have varying levels of effectiveness. You know, it depends on the person. Some people take melatonin. I'll take that occasionally. Melatonin, the way that that's efficacious is just to reset your circadian rhythm, you know, especially for people who travel and they go to another time zone or something like that, where your body is used to releasing melatonin at maybe like 8 or 9 at night, but now your circadian rhythm is off and you want to get it back on track. You can take melatonin to kind of artificially get it rising at the right time to sort of get your body back into its normal circadian rhythm. It's not super efficacious as far as helping you get to sleep or even giving you better quality sleep. But if people do have circadian rhythm problems, it can help reset that a little bit. Other ones like valerian, hops, chamomile, you know, there's a lot of herbs. Some people say anecdotally that helps a little bit. Other people find no effect. But I know that you and me, Josh, like our biggest one is going to be the magnesium. I take 1,000 milligrams of magnesium, give or take, before bed every single night. It's a muscle relaxer, nerve relaxer. It just enhances your sleep. People are deficient in magnesium anyway. It keeps you more regular. You're more likely to go to the bathroom in the morning, which is a good start to the day. So for me, the biggest sleep supplement is going to be magnesium before bed, along with zinc and vitamin B6. They all kind of work together a little bit. Did you want to add anything to that, Josh? Or are those the ones you take also?
Yeah, it's the same. Magnesium is like by far my number one supplement.
Yeah.
Not just for sleep, but I think I've read before it has like 40 plus different properties that it benefits the body with, you know.
The number that's usually thrown out is that it's involved in, and I don't know where they get this number or who counted, but over 300 really critical like biochemical processes that occur all throughout your body.
Yeah.
It's just like an incredibly important cofactor in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Mitochondrial health, all that stuff.
Yep. So I'll supplement that like 900 to 1,200 on average. Right now I'm at about 1,000, but that'll fluctuate based on training also. So if I'm training really hard, I'll go up as high as 1,500. And that, like you said, it's a muscle relaxer.
Yep.
And, you know, that is just key. And then I also do zinc between 20 and 40 milligrams, probably on average 30 milligrams a night.
Me too.
And then I cycle on and off. And Andy, we've talked about the supplement Relax.
Yeah, you like that one. That's right.
What's in I'll put a link in the show notes to that. It's by Dr. Ian Stern. It's just a magnesium, was it a valerian root in there?
Okay, so you do have a couple herbs to help with sleep.
Yeah, I sent you the ingredient list a while back before I started taking it. You said it was all legit stuff, but that definitely it's a blend of you know, minerals and vitamins and whatnot for adrenal repair.
Okay,
And, you know, it's hard to say in and of itself if it's effective because I continue to take the magnesium with it. I might decrease it slightly because I think there's 400 milligrams in that. And again, I don't have sleeping problems, but I have prescribed it and recommended it to people and they love it.
I don't remember what was in it, but I do remember you showing me the bottle and I was like, oh yeah, that's a solid formula right there. Like everything in it was all really good stuff.
Yep.
I don't know. Do you take any supplements, Ricky, to help with sleep at all?
I do not actually. I don't take any.
You do fine with sleep though, don't you?
Do I what?
You do fine with sleep though, right?
I do. I sleep very well and I have no issues. I do have one trick. I don't know if I should get into it or not, but it's so weird. Okay, so there's this thing called ASMR, and it's something that allows me to kind of shut off my mind. while I am getting in the process.
Is this a meditation technique, or?
I wouldn't say it's a meditation technique. This is more of a quirky thing about certain people.
Okay.
Some people this works for, some people will not. But some people call it brain tingles, some people call it other things, but it's something that I watch as I'm getting ready for bed. So let's say from 7:30 to 8, because I try to reduce my screen time right before bed. But it gets me in a state where it kind of shuts off my brain, and it causes me to get very tired. And then once I'm in that state, I can then go in my bed around 8 o'clock and then normally pass out by 8:30.
Interesting. I'll look into that. I'm curious. Anything that'll help me with my sleep, I'll check out.
I'm going to look into that too. That's very interesting. There is one super unique thing I do also, is I will rehearse the day that I just had from start to finish with an emphasis on all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And I literally go like activity by activity by activity and all the way through until bed. And I would say over half of the times I'm asleep before I finish my day.
Awesome.
And I don't know if that would work for anyone else, but to me, it's a positive mindset and an affirmation to say that, look, whether you think you had a good day or not, if I can name off, 18 things that went really well throughout that day, whether it's just conversations or the sun was shining and I had a good workout, I just go all the way through the day. It is awesome. And I've done this for a long time. And if that doesn't work, then I list off 50 things that I have gratitude for.
I was going to say a gratitude list. Yep.
Yeah. And I never make it through that. And so, it's those, and I really, and this may sound weird, but I really enjoy reviewing the day. And it's not a stressful thing where I'm diving into details of a meeting or something like that. It's just a brief, nice overview of we're lucky to be alive. We're doing things that we enjoy. We're interacting with awesome people. And I think there should be a little bit of respect for that, from a gratitude standpoint, we could say.
Yeah.
And that's enough to lower my nervous system, my stress levels, any anxiety, and then you just drift off,
Yeah. I think any of that stuff, the journaling before bed, a gratitude list, whenever I have journaled before bed, which has not been frequently, but you're right, it does make me really tired. And it goes back to that whole priming the brain thing too. I mean, you're putting a bunch of positive stuff in your mind before sleeping. And then, like I said, sleep is where your brain reintegrates and processes everything that happened throughout the day. So kind of giving it that refresher right before bed and giving it some good material to work on and making sure that it's all positive stuff. You're not writing lists of things you hated throughout the day. It's focusing on the good.
Yep.
That's got to be one of the most powerful tips I've ever heard for just life in general. I mean, not just sleep quality or anything, but I mean, that's going to set you up for a really good day the next day.
Well, it's easy to focus on the one thing or two things that didn't go your way. And then you forgot about the 30 things that did go your way.
Yeah.
And that is something I really like to focus on. The other thing I'll do and couple this with is before 8 o'clock, I look at my calendar, and I'm a pen to paper kind of guy. So I actually have a calendar in front of me and I review the next day. I just make sure it's in order. I know exactly what I'm expecting. There's no question marks. I'm going to be tackling it from this perspective down, and that's that. And then it's gone. And that way I'm not in bed at 9:30 saying, oh, what was that I got tomorrow? Or, it's a clear picture, it's painted, and I'm good with it. And then we move on.
Yeah. You know what you just said about how it's gone. That's actually something that I need to start doing because my mind just kind of goes like crazy. And that's one of the things that keeps me up at night. And I've heard the term banishing your thoughts to paper, is just a really good way to just unload the brain, put it on paper, your to-do list for the next day or whatever. and then there's just less for your mind to ruminate on when you're laying in bed.
Yeah, and I do that actually within my calendar. So in my calendar, I have a folder that says brain dump. And I have categories, and this may sound weird, but like this is a really easy way for me not to boggle my brain, is that like I just have categories, and they're only relevant to me. They're not like, hey, these are the top 5 categories. It's whatever categories are bothering you, or you think about often, or are on your mind or concerned about. And I would look at those categories and make sure, like, do I need to add one, delete one? And it's all on the paper. So that way I don't need to freak out or think of, I have to remember this or stress over it. It's there and it's not going anywhere. And so forget about it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's everything I've got. And then that was a nice spot to wrap up on, I think.
Yeah. All right, cool. Andy, Ricky, this is great. I want to remind everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're getting a lot of new subscribers, some great text messages and emails. Andy, I read you a few of those today.
Very nice. We really appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, to everyone listening, we really want to hear from you. Send us those messages. Send us questions, concerns, thoughts. Like, we're doing this for you, essentially. And so we're excited about where this is headed. If you're interested in being a client at Co-Movement, that'd be great. In-person private coaching or remote. We work with people all over the place. Sign up. We have our new Achieve online coaching program we're almost done building out for people that want a generalized approach via online coaching to their health and fitness. That'll be out soon. And yeah, like I said before, any questions, send to info@comovement.com. And if that's that, unless you have something else to share, we will sign off.
I'm good. Great episode.
Good too.
Okay. See you guys.
See you later.
See ya.